This is some of what we've got coming up in today's show.
And we believe it should be 50% creative and 50% practical. So you need the theory, you need to understand the tools and the strategies of what you're trying to do, but you also need the creative, the magic, the fun, the inspiring parts. And as you wonderfully said in our introduction, lots of courses are either one or the other. They don't mix the two together in the way that we do.
Welcome to the All Things Books Show, hosted by award-winning best-selling mystery author Dawn Brooks. Publishing has changed beyond recognition in recent years. Join Dawn as she interviews authors, narrators, and many more from across the creative community. This inspiring and informative show is for readers and writers.
Hello and welcome to the All Things Books Show. This episode features some wonderful people, founders of the Derbyshire Writing School. So I'm just going to bring them in. So this is Peter. Hi, Peter.
Hello there, Dawn. Lovely to see you.
Nice to see you too. And this is Laura. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Dawn.
Right, I'm just going to say a little bit about you two before we launch into the interview. But it's great to have you on the show, and thanks for agreeing to come.
Thank you for asking us.
Yeah, thank you.
So Laura and Peter are founders of the Derbyshire Writing School. Laura, I'm going to be asking her this question soon, but she says she created the Derbyshire Writing School because she was disillusioned, confused, and left wanting with so many of the writing courses she's attended in the past. Wow. They seemed only to tell half the story. They were either too practical and boring or too creative and intangible. We'll find out more on her views on those later. The last straw was attending a writing retreat with no cake. Seriously. How could anybody? It's illegal. And enough was enough. So she decided that she was going to co-found the writing school with her dad. She's passionate about building confidence and creativity, and she's got an MA in creative writing from the University of Derby, which is where we met. And she's a qualified teacher with years of experience teaching in further education colleges. Writing and non-fiction work is her passion. So Peter is, he's been involved in business development, teaching and coaching, and it all boils down to bringing pieces of the puzzle together and seeing them fit. And writers who attend the writing school, either online or not, or in person, are the missing piece. Whether it's courses, workshops, or coaching, he brings them together in a meaningful way to help writers on their journey. He and Laura want to see people grow into the writer that they dream of becoming. So,
well, I'm actually impressed with that myself.
Well, you must, either you wrote it or Laura did.
I think we probably paid somebody to write it for us, didn't we, Laura? Something like
that. That's it. Yeah, pay a blurb writer, a copywriter. They're worth their weight in gold, aren't they? I must explain to viewers watching this, we are in one of the hottest days in the United Kingdom at 35, 36 degrees, which we're just not used to. So if any of us suddenly frazzle and fizzle out, obviously by the time this goes live, it will be a lot cooler in the UK. But if you see us sweltering, Peter's already looking rather toasty, then that's the reason for it. So, okay, so a serious question now. I know Laura's already said a little bit about one in the introduction I gave about why she started the writing school, but why did you set up the Derbyshire Writing School? Shall I come to Laura first and then Peter?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes, sure. Well, so many different reasons. First of all, it was really nice to do something together. So as you briefly mentioned, Peter is also my dad. So we wanted to start something together so we could spend time together. We could learn about this topic that we love, which is writing, together. And so that was one of the reasons why we set it up. We also set it up in the middle of the pandemic. So at the height, if that's the right word to use, August 2020. So what better time to start a new business when it seemed like we had a little more time on our hands. So that was also another reason why we set up Derbyshire Writing School, because the timing felt right. But finally, and I think for me the most important reason why we set it up is because we really wanted to do things differently. So as you mentioned, some of my experiences have been really good, but some of them haven't been as good as they could be. But I know that we offer incredible value and we do it in a really creative way that other people don't do. And I just knew there was space for it because no one does it like we do. And I think we just wanted to show how it could be done, really.
I'll pick up on that point shortly. Peter, anything to add to that?
No, just as Laura said, I mean, that original thing, to be able to do something together is a joy and a pleasure. And you know, I think I consider myself very grateful to have that opportunity. We both have always loved books from when Laura was a very little girl and from when I was a very little boy. There's been a love of books in our family, and it goes beyond the writing goes beyond sort of this generation, my generation. It goes to, in a way, to both of my parents and even grandparents, that there's been writers in the family. And so for us to continue that together and just to do something that's fun, I can't think of another better idea, really, than to be able to share some time together as dad and daughter, starting a business and trying to move it forwards.
That's brilliant and fun. And what a time to start it during the pandemic. I know a lot of businesses started up during the pandemic as they were, well, people needed an income, but also people needed something to keep them sane because it was a horrible time for many people around the world. So what's your role within the organisation, Peter?
Well, I'm behind the scenes, and most of Derbyshire Writing School is Laura. She is the visionary. She's the driving force who is behind the majority of things that happen at Derbyshire Writing School. I'm a little bit in the background. I do some of the things that are behind the scenes, but it's Laura that really is the driving visionary force of a lot of the creative ideas that come out of Derbyshire Writing School. And that was always the plan from the start. It was always that my role was there to just help. And so some of the things that I do are the technology things. Originally setting up the websites for the podcasts that we do. I do all the recording and the editing and the producing of the podcasts. Some of the other bits and pieces of how you have to run a business, some of the accounting stuff and all those different things. Those are the jobs that I do out of sight. But mostly it's to support Laura as well. I would just want to be there encouraging her and helping her and just seeing her absolutely thrive in helping others, helping other writers, helping other creative people thrive, because I know that's what gives Laura the greatest joy of all, is to see other people suddenly discovering something within them that maybe they didn't even know was there, or had this idea that maybe it was there but didn't know how to bring it out. And then suddenly through some of the courses or the mentoring that Laura does, all of these, well, innate things that were in there, and it just needed somebody who would listen, somebody who would take notice, somebody who would encourage to bring it forwards. And that's what the courses at Derbyshire Writing School that Laura lead do.
So Laura, your dad's already said a bit about your role, but do you want to add anything to that about your role within the writing school?
Well, I'm really lucky because I feel like he does some of the boring bits. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but
yeah, you can say that. Fine.
Honestly, editing a podcast does not excite me that much. I would much rather be...
Trust me, editing videos isn't that much so exciting either.
I would rather be brainstorming new ideas, or thinking of ways of how we can help our customer. So I'm really lucky that I have that support that allows me to do some of these things. So I get to make up my own job title because we develop the business. So depending on what day it is, I feel like I change my title. But I think my role really is the creative director. That's what I feel like at the moment. So what do I want to make, or what do people need that is going to help them? And then I develop courses, materials, or products that help people get what they want. And I do it in a way that breaks down some of the barriers and some of the confusing things about writing as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that kind of sums up what I do.
Okay. So on that note, I mean, you've both said that your courses are different to anything anyone else does. Before I ask you what courses you'd offer, just tell me how they're different, why you think they're different, what's different about them.
Absolutely. So part of this is based on our teaching philosophy. So this is what we believe about creative writing and what we believe about the way it should be taught. And we believe it should be 50% creative and 50% practical. So you need the theory, you need to understand the tools and the strategies of what you're trying to do, but you also need the creative, the magic, the fun, the inspiring parts. And as you wonderfully said in our introduction, lots of courses are either one or the other. They don't mix the two together in the way that we do. We also look at every opportunity to add value to our customer. So, for example, with our novel writing course, when you join, you get a special package in the post and you get a wonderful book about how to write a novel, just as a welcome gift. So we look at all these different ways that we can make your experience special, that we can make you feel like you're part of the team as well. So once you join one of our courses or once you attend one of our workshops, you get invited to a private Facebook group, lots of tips and advice, but also we like to give you as much information, and we'll send you workbooks, we'll give you lots of prompts, all the different things that you need to sustain your creativity for the long haul. So I think that's some of the things that make us different, but it's really the way that we do things. So it's all about our delivery. So we like to break things down so it feels as easy as possible. And then we layer everything back up. So you've got a really good understanding of how to move forward. Okay.
Peter, I'm going to ask you in a minute about the podcast, but while we're on this aspect, Laura, back to you again. What in-person courses do you actually offer at Derbyshire Writing School?
Well, because we started in the pandemic, we're in a really unique position that although we are called Derbyshire Writing School, and as the name suggests, we base a lot of our courses in Derbyshire, a huge part of our audience is actually nationwide and also international too. So we have started to deliver in-person courses. It's looking at what do people need locally, because we have this huge audience from nationwide, but what do our local audience want? So we've started with some in-person writing retreats. So these are small writing retreats which are, not course based, so there's no content that is delivered, but it's the space and the time that you need to get the words down on paper. And we found that actually this is what people like, because we know our courses are great, but you can also get all the information you need for free from the internet to write your novel. You don't have to go on a course. But what's really hard is to find the time that you need to write. So that's why we started with these in-person retreats, because that's something that many can't buy really, is, it's that time to write your novel. That's what we're all desperate for. So we'll be expanding these retreats. But again, a lot of this is dependent on what people want. So we're always asking our local audience, what courses do you want? What retreats do you want? Because unless we get that conversation, it's really difficult, because our audience is so spread out, to really understand the needs of that local Derbyshire base. So we'd love to hear from people to find out what they really need.
So if you're in Derbyshire, do feel free to contact the Derbyshire Writing School. We'll come to contact details at the end of this interview. But now then, let's go to this national audience that they have and the online courses. What exciting stuff have you got for the online audience?
Well, I recently checked the stats on our website, and we've had visits on our blog from 100 different countries.
Wonderful.
So we do have an international audience. So we have 2 flagship courses. So these are kind of what we are about. So the first one is how to write your first novel. So this covers the tools that you need to get started. It talks about characters, character arcs. We talk about plot and structure. We talk about point of view. We talk about how to write dialogue, setting, all these lovely things that you need when you're writing your very first novel. And we're running a course at the moment, and we've just got an incredible cohort who are really enjoying what we do. But this is one of our flagship ones. The second flagship course is Memories to Memoir. And this is something we're both really passionate about, is non-fiction writing and how we can use writing as a way to save our memories and to document our life. So, you know, if there's anyone listening or watching that wonders, oh, I don't know where to start, well, actually just writing about your life, that can be a really great place to get stuck in with writing, because you know about your life, and people say, you know, write what you know, but actually it can be a great place to start. So those are our 2 flagship courses, and those run quite frequently throughout the year. And then we also have guest facilitators to come and deliver courses, and we work with independent local people who share our values. So we have Charlotte Lunn, who is a Derbyshire poet, and we worked with Charlotte to develop a new course, again, that we haven't seen other people offering. So this one is all about poetry, and it's how to create your very own poetry collection. So we also work with a local independent press. We're working with Fly on the Wall Press this year. Last year we worked with Verve Poetry, and they come and do a guest slot as part of this course and talk about how to pitch, how to get commissions, the best way to collate your work as a chance to get it published. And then things are changing up as well. So we're looking at what people need and the skills that we've got. So we're in the process of developing a self-publishing with style course, which we get asked about a lot. And we're also in the process of refining our subscription club, which is called the 3% Club. So this is an online offering with lots of recorded workshops and masterclasses, lots of wonderful worksheets to download and work through, because, you know, sometimes, as we said, we're all busy and we might want to work or watch these videos in our own time, not at a specific time when a course is on. So many exciting and different online things for all the different needs that our customers might have.
That's really exciting, and I'm sure your customer base is excited about that as well, with lots of different things. So let's come to you for a minute then, Peter, before we go on to something else. What about your own writing, Peter? What is it you write?
I for my personal writing, you could say there's 2 parts to it, because there's what I do for a living, what my job involves, my business involves, but also what I do. It's for pleasure, but it's also for business as well. So on my professional front, I am a eulogy writer. I as an occupation, and I actually think of it more as a vocation, because it is an incredible privilege to write the last words that somebody will say about a loved one, a mother, a father, or a brother or a sister, and to be able to deliver those. So for the last, for several years now, I have been writing eulogies, and I think I've written now over 700, and it is an incredibly I don't know, it's a blessing, and it's a very poignant role in terms of writing, because you're writing about somebody that means a tremendous amount to another person, and yet I don't know them. And so then by just asking questions and learning about that person, looking at photographs, trying to pick up some stories, my role then is to write a somewhere usually around about 3,000 words about this person that I don't know in such a way that either when I deliver the words, because I quite often do that, or somebody else does, it comes through as being authentic and real. And many people will say to me, if I go and deliver a funeral, for instance, they'll come up to me and said, well, how long have you known John? I said, well, I've never met him. Oh, it sounds as if you're like, you was his best friend. And I just always think that is the highest compliment that I can be paid, in that I've been able to find the essence of this person, find that little bit that makes it immediately recognizable, to put that into words in such a way that when somebody hears those, it resonates with them and says, yes, that's the person that I remember, and that's the person that I love. Because sadly, quite often when people go to funerals, that isn't the case. And I write eulogies for people all around the world. I have written eulogies for government ministers in Nigeria, for doctors of science in Trinidad and Tobago, and many, many people in America. And it is just a blessing, that side of my writing is.
And does that come from, am I right in thinking you were a clergyman?
I was in
a past life.
I was.
And does that experience come from
in this current life still? But maybe I was.
You know what I mean.
Previous life, I don't know. But yes, I was. But to be honest, I have to say that while obviously that was a role that I played when I was a minister of a church, I think what's come together is over all the different occupations and careers I've had. I've been very blessed to have a fascinating life and do so many interesting things that I think that experience of life and my age, I'm 62. I think all of those things come together. I've been a speechwriter and a public speaker in lots of different ways over the different jobs that I've had. And I'm blessed that it's come together now at this stage of my life. And those skills, I think, have just fitted together, like we said right at the very beginning, a bit like a jigsaw, really, to find myself in this position. So my business side, my eulogy writing, my online eulogy writing services is where I want to see the next years grow and develop. The other thing that I write about is a really niche area, which is called Death Goes Digital. And Death Goes Digital is a podcast. It's a newsletter. It's a book. I've written a book and lots of articles. And it's looking at how the world has changed in terms of how people deal with death, how people deal with grief and bereavement. Even simple things like digital legacy, in like we've all got these traces of our lives that are online. From if we've got a Facebook account or Twitter, social media, whatever, what happens to all that when we're not around? Who's going to look after that? What does our online life say for our legacy? But then also what I love to see at the moment is there's a transformation in people wanting to curate their life online, people wanting to find ways to store these photos that they've got, to store stories. So I write about that. So that's my work side. And the other side, I write, as Laura said, I published a memoir this year, and I published a couple of other books, and I'm in the process of creating a toolkit to teach other people how to write eulogies. So that's my writing life.
Okay, that's very good. And well, while we're on writing life, Laura, what sort of things do you write?
Actually, a ghostwriter. So I work for Story Terrace. So I write lots of personal memoirs, people from all walks of life. And in some ways, it's the similarities between what we do. But working with Story Terrace has been a fantastic way to just meet different people, listen to their story. It's their story, and then I just craft it and shape it. I've also recently got representation from an agent for ghostwriting, so that's been really exciting. And I do lots of freelance writing, lots of copywriting, blog writing, that type of thing. And then personally, I also like to write non-fiction books. I have 2 books published at the moment. One is about wedding planning. So in a previous life, I used to be a wedding planner, and I wrote a book all about those experiences because I didn't want to lose that experience that I'd had, and I wanted to pass on and share that knowledge. And then the second book is all about writing, but from the perspective of how we can document our lives and how we can notice the things around us and just really appreciate and have gratitude for what we've got. So it's a book called Everyday Storytellers, and it's a step-by-step guide really to writing your very first story about your own life.
And are any of your books, either yours or Peter's, are they available in audio books as well as print? And
yeah, it's an interesting question. Yes, I think they will be. They're not at the moment, but I do want to do that, especially the memoir that I wrote, because I think
absolutely.
I think to hear the actual person's voice tell the story for a memoir, I think is really helpful. So yeah, that's on the horizon.
That's in the ever-growing to-do list, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I understand you've recently taken on some interns from the University of Derby, 3 of them. What brought that about, and what will these interns be doing within your organisation? Because it sounds like Laura needs a bit of a hand because she's doing an awful lot by herself. Yeah. So what do these interns do?
Well, this was a very exciting opportunity. So we worked with the University of Derby and what they call their Driven project. And it's actually through European Union funding that these internships are provided for students who are in their last year of their studies or they're about to graduate. So it gives them real life experience to help them apply for other jobs, but also to see the sort of work that they're interested in, or if they might like to work in different sectors. So we developed a job description and worked with the university to go through quite a strict recruitment process. So we did lots of interviews and whittled it down. And we have 3 incredible interns who are all working on our workbooks. So our plan is to develop a series of workbooks that can be downloaded from our website. So wherever you are in the world, you can download them. And the point of these is they're different to a book because actually we want you to highlight them, to underline them, and they have lots of activities to help you consolidate, but also apply the knowledge from the workbook. So, for example, one is about characters and character development. So there's lots of activities. So by the end of that workbook, you should have a really good understanding of who your character is, what they want, why they want it, what problems they might face on their journey to get what they want. So all of these different things and information will be in the workbooks. So each intern is working on a different workbook. So many times I've said work, I think. And so each week we'll do different edits, and I'll help them understand some of the basics of how we share and how we teach knowledge. So it's been really great. It's been fun. I think they're having a great time as well. It's a lot of work, but it will be a great finished product at the end of it as well, and for them to have something tangible that they can say, oh, I worked on this during my internship. I think that's what I wanted, because so often interns are, oh, can you just do this little thing or finish this off? I wanted them to have ownership, to feel proud that they'd contributed towards something, and have that for their portfolio as well.
And these workbooks then, so will they be like PDF format to download, or will you have them for sale as well on online stores?
Yes, they'll be for sale on our online store, which will be...
Your online store?
Yeah, on our online store. Yeah. So you'll be able to buy them direct from us as a PDF workbook. I think in the future, we may consider turning them into print books as well. But at the moment, they will just be direct through us as PDF workbooks.
And will they be accompanied by videos or not? Just purely workbooks?
Yeah, purely workbooks. So we have our subscription service, which offers that video element. So you can watch the presentations, you'll see talks from me and from other people who deliver our masterclasses. But these workbooks are very different. They are to print off or to work on. You can type into them as well. But these are separate and for, self-paced learning at home.
So that's what the interns are doing. And is the European that funding, do they pay you to pay the interns, or do they pay the interns direct?
So it's all done through the Student Employment Agency with the university. So it ties nicely that agency looks after that side of things. So we have them for a very short time. So each intern is on an 80-hour internship. So at the moment, they're doing about 2 days a week. And we have lots of Zoom calls, but we've also got a co-working day. So the time is going to go very quickly. But we are hoping as well that they will be recording a podcast, which I'm sure Dad will have great fun editing with the 5 of us, but it will be great fun to record.
It certainly will. And 5, so you got, oh yeah, of course, you two as well. I was thinking, well, then an extra intern just appeared from somewhere. So how long
I'll be the extra intern.
You already are. How long will these workbooks be? Roughly
around 5,000 words each. So I don't want them to be... Yeah, they'll be significant. So a lot more than, a free download or a blog post. But they also need to be manageable, because sometimes I think we can have too much information and we can feel a bit overwhelmed, or we can have all these great intentions of reading these craft books and they can stack up on our desk, but we just don't seem to quite get round to them. So this is a shorter, manageable piece of text to read, but also to engage with and to apply what you are learning in the workbook.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. And so you've mentioned a few times the subscription service, and you've got on your website something called prompt boxes that people can subscribe to. What is that, and where did that idea come from?
Sure. So we have 2 subscription services. So the 3% Club is our videos, it's our online presentations, it's a way for you to learn but at home. So I think we sort of covered that one, and we call it the 3%
hang on,
Club.
why is it called the 3% Club?
Well, there's a horrible rumour which is rife on the internet, and it says that only 3% of writers ever finish their novel.
Okay.
Now, I can't prove it to be true, so we call it a rumour because there's no fact, but it actually feels quite true, because it is quite stark how many people start and don't finish. So that's what we like to encourage, and that's why we created this resource, because it's information to sustain you for the long haul, and we want to take you from that idea all the way to your finished book. And we know that these workshops and the activities we share as part of that can help people reach that goal. So that was the idea behind that one. And then our prompt box, it started as a subscription service, and we were about to relaunch it just as one-off products, so you won't have to subscribe. But the prompt box is almost as it sounds, but there's a little more to it. So it is a box full of writing prompts, and these are magically delivered through your door. But they're not just pieces of paper, they're not just written words. We like to use objects, and we spend a lot of time finding real life things that will inspire you. So we use old vintage photos, we use keys, we use old lottery tickets. We find lots of different things that are going to have an impact on your imagination, and they're going to ask you questions, they're going to force you to come up with new ideas, because it's very different thinking or responding to a prompt, but when you're holding something in your hand, it opens a different part of your imagination, and it allows you to respond to it in a different way. And lots of these are handmade, they're presented beautifully, wrapped up really nicely. So it's a great gift for someone. If you've got a writer in your life, it's a wonderful gift for them to use as a bit of a warm-up, or maybe even to inspire a novel. Or if someone's feeling maybe a bit burnt out, maybe they have just run out of ideas, or they're fed up of feeling like they need to just crank out some words. Maybe they just want a little break, and they can just have fun with these prompts. Comes with a workbook which will give you even more scenarios you could write about. So it's a great way to refuel your creativity.
Okay. Well, Peter, then, podcast. Tell us about the podcast, because obviously people watching YouTube videos also tend to listen to podcasts. I
Yeah.
am not going down the podcast route yet.
At the
Tell me
beginning.
about your podcast.
Well, we did. We started it at the beginning for some of the same reasons we talked about at the very start. It was lockdown, and it gave Laura and I an opportunity at a set time every week to talk to each other. Not that we need an appointment to talk to each other, but it was just lovely to do that. I've run a couple of podcasts and still do at the moment for Deco's Digital, and I just love the medium. I love the engagement that you can get as a conversation with guests, or even just on your own. And I think it's a very personal medium. In this medium, what we're doing now, although it isn't necessary, most people will be watching this as opposed to doing something else. Where with a podcast, you can be walking the dog, you can be washing the dishes, you can be doing anything. It's just in their ears. And I think to give you that personal space of like full attention to what we're saying just in your ears is a wonderful gift. So I love the medium of podcasting, and we've done 66 episodes now. We've done 2 seasons, and it's just good fun. It's just good. We've had some really good laughs. There's been a lot of times that we've edited stuff out, and a lot of times we've left stuff in, and it's just become fun. We've got 2 dogs now, but at the start of the podcast, we had Pippa the office dog, who was a regular guest on the podcast, but she only would contribute by snoring in the background, apart from the one episode.
My dog's done that during one of these.
But we've just had some real good fun doing it, and come September, we'll start another season again. And I have to say, it does take a lot of time for people who are watching this video. If they've thought, I fancy doing that, there are simple and even free ways to do it, but that doesn't mean to say it doesn't cost something. And the one thing it does cost is time, and it takes time to build an audience as well. Podcasts have become very popular, and but we love it. We just love that opportunity to chat. And
it's become a crowded workspace, hasn't it? The podcast workspace. But if you've got a niche, then people, and once you get your regular listeners, they do listen all the time, don't they? So and that's great, isn't it? Because you've got people who are interested in your podcast, and I'm sure you've found that from when you started to now, your audience has grown, like for the Derbyshire Writing School.
Definitely. And some of the places where people listen to us absolutely blows us away, right in the middle of Africa, or in India, or out in South America. You think, how amazing is that, from sitting in this little room here, that Laura and I chat together, and yet somebody on the other side of the world finds that of benefit, which is, I just think that's exciting. Even if in a way you might say, did you get anything out of that? Well, yes, we did, because we were able maybe to help somebody we might never know that we've helped. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
No, I mean, I think that's the wonderful part. And when I first started my YouTube channel, actually, I put audiobooks up for free. And although you say people watch YouTube, they don't always watch YouTube. A lot of people listen to YouTube. So my audiobooks have been listened to people similar all over the world. And I get comments from people, as you say, in Africa, Asia, across all the continents, really. And it's a wonderful feeling. And as it is, when I look at my reports for selling books, that you've got a buyer somewhere in some part of the world you've never heard of, and you've got sales. It's a wonderful. And it's a growth area, because I'm somebody who didn't grow up listening to podcasts, but I listen to them now. My neighbour over the road is out doing his garden, and he's always got his earphones in. And I thought he was listening to music. And I spoke to him one day. He said, "No, I'm listening to my podcast."
Exactly right.
And he's well into his 60s. So it's not just young people who listen to podcasts; it's people of all ages. Which is. So that's wonderful. So you record those together, you do all the editing, and what's the name of the podcast?
The Derbyshire Writing School podcast is called Begin, because we wanted to have something that just I suppose, inspires people. A lot of people talk about doing these kind of things about writing, and there's a book in everybody and all that kind of cliched. I mean, I have to be, Laura's the cliche police, because at least in every episode I'm accused of being a cliche of some, say a cliche of some kind. And the truth of it is, well, it's probably true. It is probably true. But one of the things that is true is that lots of people want to do something, and we just say start, begin. Once you begin in something, you can adapt it, and you can refine it, and you can edit. The most important step is begin, and so that's why we called it. That's why we called it begin.
And the most important step in writing is end. So have you got, I think we're sort of coming to the end of this interview now, unless if you've got anything else you want to add before I ask you if you can give us. What I will do for people listening or watching, I will put the links to both the podcast and Derbyshire Writing School in the notes below this video. And remember, if you've liked this video, please click the like, it helps, and subscribe to the channel. I will always say that because you will then be notified of the next episode. So anything else you want to add before I ask you to give our watchers or listeners a prompt?
Yes, thank you for having us, first of all. Also, I would love to say to your listeners or to your watchers, what can we do to help you? What information do you need on your journey? What would give you value? What's that missing piece that we talked about that you need to get you from your idea to your finished novel? Because we would love to create a podcast episode about it, or we would love to write you a blog post or share some prompts that are going to help you with that missing piece. So please let us know how we can help you, and we'll see what we can do. We'll do our best.
Please make comments in the comments section below, or through the Derbyshire Writing School website. But if you comment below, I will pass those comments on to Laura and Peter, or when they watch the episode, they'll pick them up anyway. But yeah, I can do that. So do you have a prompt? I normally ask people, because I have a lot of authors on, what a book that they recommend reading at the moment. So I will put your links as well on, Peter, for your digital death
goes
digital death.
We're almost there. It's just getting the words the other way around, but don't worry about it. That's fine. We'll put a link.
Death goes digital. Actually, when I first started nursing, death had gone at, because all deaths had been at home in the early 30s, 40s, 50s, and in the 70s. When I started nursing, death went to hospital. So we should have had one called Death Goes to Hospital, because suddenly all deaths went into hospital, and now we're sort of in a reverse trend again, where death is going back to home, where people want their loved ones to die either at home or in a hospice. But we won't end on that topic.
That's a really positive end to this show.
We will end on a writing prompt from Laura.
Okay, so often when we are writing, we think everything we write has to have a purpose, and we can think that responding to a prompt is a waste of words, and it's not, if it's not going towards that first draft, sometimes it can feel like it's a waste. But actually it can be a great way for us to find new characters. It can just be a great way for us to have a bit of space and reflection. So this prompt, it can be a bit of fun, or you can use it as if you are a character. But I would love for you to write about your perfect day. So you can pop a timer on just for a couple of minutes. What would your perfect day look like? And you can do this from a personal perspective. If you had the best day in the world, what would that look like? And that can just be a really nice, positive thing to think about, or it can be a goal to aim for. Or we can use it as a way to really understand who our character might be if we're writing fiction, because we can understand a bit more about who they are, what they want, and what their perfect day might be. So write about your perfect day.
Yeah, that's a brilliant note to end on, actually, because we do need to know what our protagonists' goals are in terms of their own life. Every protagonist has got one, and we as human beings all have things that we dream of and things that are on our bucket list. So, yeah, write about your perfect day. Can I say thank you both for joining me from the Derbyshire Writing School, and it's been my pleasure to have you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dawn. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So that was an interesting interview with Peter and Laura from the Derbyshire Writing School. You can find the links to the school in the notes at the bottom of this video. Please visit their website, look at Laura's blog, go to the listen to the podcast if you like podcasts, and I hope that you found this beneficial and that it will help you on your writing journey. So as Peter said, begin, and as Laura said, remember to end and finish. I'll leave you with that note for now, and I'll see you next week in the next episode. Thank you for listening.